Good evening, Obnoxious Brutes forum members, both lifters and non-lifters. This is the fourth Q&A video session where I've taken questions from the forum and answered them here in this video format. So today we have questions from Jughead96, Sand, Coming Me Bro, LA Hipster 1, Mr_83. This wasn't a question asked directly from me by Edward Haskell, but he did post something that I thought would probably be better served, talked about in a video like this rather than me pecking it out on my phone. Question from Mr. Quint, GD585, and Pink, that's P7NK. And the answers will be in that order that I just read. Let's go ahead and start with Jughead96. He says, have I ever been to the Grand Ole Opry? Yes, I've been to the Grand Ole Opry. I've lived in Nashville since 1985. And here's a fun fact for you. I'm here because of the music business. And my dad moved us here in 1985 to pursue music. And he is let's call him a very prolific musician. He's had a career that has been wildly successful in 5 different decades now, in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. He's a songwriter and a music producer, and he's had dozens of hits in the country music business. Some of them are some of the most well-known songs, My brother's in the music business too, also a prolific record producer and hit songwriter. Lots of #1 Billboard hits between him and my dad. There was a time when my brother and my dad had the #1 and #2 song on the Billboard charts. And the next week they flipped, where my brother and my dad had the opposite #1 and #2 on the Billboard charts, if that makes sense. Maybe the only time that's ever happened in the history of the charts. So yes, I've been to the Grand Ole Opry. My family's in the music business. I have a cousin of mine who's also a manager for a major country music star too. So it just runs in the family. My brother-in-law is a regular on the Grand Ole Opry. He's a steel guitar player, one of the best. Is a part of a major band, a major player in a band that is kind of a famous band that he works with, and he's a session player too in Nashville, and is a regular at the Grand Ole Opry. So yeah, I've been there, done that, and I like country music from the 90s. I don't listen to a whole lot of country music now, but yeah, I've been there. Maybe that was a little more information than asked for about the Grand Ole Opry, but yeah. Cool things to do around Nashville? I don't know, man. Nashville used to be a place where there was lots of cool stuff to do for locals and natives, but it's kind of become just a giant tourist trap, I guess you could call it. There used to be some touristy kind of stuff. People from Canada would come for, it's called CMA Fest now, but it used to be called Fanfare back in the 90s and 80s and 2000s. And they'd come with their kind of silly cowboy hats and stuff. But now you can't even go downtown. It's just too much. Used to have Opryland, which was a great theme park here in the area, and that's gone. I don't know, man. Stay away. Wherever you're from, stay there. Don't come to Nashville. No, I'm just kidding. What do I think about steak, eggs, and blueberry/fruit only diet? You know, I follow a pretty restrictive diet, and I've got more questions about diet coming up, so I guess I won't get into too much about my diet just yet until I start to answer those diet questions. But I will say that's pretty restrictive. But if that's what works for you, then that's what works for you. I'm not a huge fan of too much restriction of carbohydrates if you're going to be lifting and performance is important to you. That doesn't strike me as a particularly good diet for performance, for gym performance, for building strength and muscle. And still having the energy to make it through your day. Some people do it and they swear by it, fine. You've got that covered though. You've got, blueberries don't have many carbs in them, but they have some, and other kind of fruits. I mean, if you're eating a couple bananas a day and some grapes and blueberries, you're probably getting the carbs that you need to fuel performance, and you're getting protein from the eggs and the steak, and you're getting enough fats from the eggs, especially if you're eating. If I ever eat eggs, which is very rare, and I'll talk about more about why that is later, but I would probably be eating like the omega-3 eggs, where they feed the chickens flax as part of their feed so that the chickens will convert some of that omega-3 for you, and bing, bang, boom, you've got magic and you have omega-3 eggs. If that's what works for you, that's what works for you. I like to get my carbs from white rice. I digest it easily. It gives me good energy and it tastes good and I like it. It's not too delicious to where I want to binge on it. I like white rice. And for my protein, I do sometimes go with like flank steak or lower, like lean ground beef, like 96.4 lean ground beef. But mostly chicken and wild caught salmon. I'll eat wild caught salmon for breakfast, chicken and lean ground beef 99% of the time. Sand posted a GoFundMe page, so I encourage everybody to go check it out. It's in the thread where I asked about questions for this question and answer video. He's had some health issues with an ingrown toenail, and that has kind of given him some severe trouble. He even had to have surgery on it, he said, and he's looking at maybe another procedure he has to have. Maybe even he's had a punctured spine, he says. So the man's fancies himself a comedian. He does some comedy stuff on YouTube. Go check out his GoFundMe. Go check out his YouTube. I encourage everybody to go help the guy out if you think he's worthy. Come at me, bro. He asks about a workout while he's stuck in bed. Says he can't bear any weight on his foot. I do remember somebody a couple weeks ago asked me about somebody with the username Come at me, bro, who mangled his foot with a mower. Come at me, bro. I hope it's not as bad as it sounds, because that sounds horrific. So hopefully you're getting better with that and healing up. I would say, what I bought for my grandmother, she passed away a few years ago, but she'd hurt herself and was basically stuck on the couch and couldn't move around much and couldn't do much. I bought her, and I think I must have given it away since then or sold it. I used to have it right over here. If I still did, I'd show you, but I bought her a hand cranked bike. Basically, it's a hand bike, and you can just set it in front of you and just kind of, that way she was able to move around a little bit. She wasn't able to use her legs because she'd fallen and torn up her leg. But it gave her the ability to kind of move and maybe even get her, some movement, maybe burn a few calories, maybe maintain a little bit of muscle tone in her arms and her shoulders and back or whatever. But also just maybe get her heart rate up a little bit. Maybe if she'd ride it with her hands for 15, 20, 30 minutes, however much she felt like. Another thing you could do is you could use bands. I don't know if you can see all the bands I got up on the wall over there. I've got hundreds of dollars worth of bands probably. You can do while you're sitting in the bed. I mean, you could do pull-aparts with a band. I don't know if you can see the motion that I'm doing here, but kind of pulling your rear delts together. That'll help. That'll do a little bit of shoulder building, a little bit of rear delts, a little bit of traps. You could always tie one. I'm talking about like micro mini bands, the thin. I don't have any sitting here right beside me, or I'd show you. But they're pretty cheap. I mean, a micro mini band provides 10 to 20 pounds worth of resistance. If you toss it over the edge of your bed, and you could do curls with it, you could do, kind of reverse curls with it, face pulls. You could do lots of different kind of basic exercises. You could toss it over the bed behind you, the bed frame behind you, and do tricep extensions with it, chest presses maybe. You could do rows. Lots of different things you could do if you had a micro mini band or two that would just at least keep you active and keep you moving around a little bit. I don't know. hopefully you heal up fast and you can get out and do some stuff. LA Hipster One always has some good questions too. He says he mentioned that Not Bad Not Brad kind of buried the hatchet, kind of apologized about kind of trolling me back on the old forum, and I accept that. He wants to know if I accept, and am I willing to, be friends with Brad or whatever. Look, as I said in the last video, I wasn't just saying that just to say it. I'm not harboring some grudge against anybody on a forum. I promise you that. I don't have any issue with Brad or anybody else. It is strange to me sometimes when people go out of their way, and there's still a couple people left on the forum now of the only, 10 or 20 active members that we have left, or however many we have. Maybe it's more like 50. But there's still a couple who really just don't like me very much, and it's hard for me to understand exactly why. But I can't say that if I saw them out on the street, I wouldn't beat them up or anything. But yeah, they certainly wouldn't beat me up either, I can tell you that much. Do I watch the World Cup? Nope, not a soccer guy. Can I expand on my diet? Yes. So it wants to know if do I count calories and things like that. Yeah, I count everything. I weigh and measure my food, and I track calories and macros. So I track it all like a scientist. I use my Notes app, and if I could show you the Notes app, you'd probably be blown away. It's better than any app that Mike Israetel or any of these other people are putting out in terms of what I'm tracking and how I'm tracking it. And obviously it's worked for me, because look at the results I've seen over the past 3 years. But yeah, my diet looks pretty much like the following. I eat on an average day about 300 grams of protein from meat sources alone. And I eat, and right now I'm in 13 weeks. Today's actually the day 1 of week 14 of calorie restriction. So I'm only eating about 2,000 calories right now. So I don't know if you'd rather me talk about where I'm at for my cutting macros and diet, or kind of a maintenance thing, but I'll just tell you what I'm doing right now. In the neighborhood of 300 grams of protein from meat sources only. About right now, depending on the day, but either 2 or 3 servings of jasmine rice a day, which only puts me at about 100 grams of carbohydrates right now currently, and about 40 grams of fat, something like that. And where I get those from currently is I eat 8 ounces of wild caught salmon for breakfast every day. I eat, and that's meal number 1. I eat 6 meals per day. For the next 5 meals, I mix the chicken and the lean ground beef in a pan and cook it together. And it's 24 ounces of chicken and 16 ounces of Laura's lean ground beef, which is the 96.4 Laura's lean ground beef, so the leanest they have. Only has 18 grams of fat in a whole pound of that lean ground beef. So that makes up meals 2 through 6 in terms of just the meat. Then right now I either, depending on the day and depending on a couple of different variables, if it's a day where I'm only doing, say arm day or something like that, or if I'm doing leg day or whatever, but 135 grams of jasmine rice. And when I say 135 grams of jasmine rice, I'm not talking about the carbs from jasmine rice. I'm talking about the actual weight, the weight of the rice itself, the dry weight. And 2 bags of broccoli. I throw that in there too. And that's 16 grams of carbohydrates, 8 grams of protein, but I count the protein from the broccoli and the rice as carbohydrates. That's just how I do it. So if I actually counted those proteins from the vegetables and the rice as protein, it might be more like 325 grams of protein and more like maybe 80 or 88 grams of carbs, depending on whether I'm eating 2 servings or 3 servings of rice that day. And in terms of the fat, there's 2 grams of fat for 8 ounces of chicken. I told you I eat 24 ounces of chicken breast. That's 6 grams of fat right there. There's 9 grams of fat per 8 ounce serving of Laura's lean ground beef. There's 18 grams of fat right there. So 18 plus 6 is 24. And there's 10 grams of fat in the 8 ounces of wild caught salmon that I eat for breakfast. So you do the math, it's in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 grams of fat, depending on whether I eat the wild caught salmon that has the skin on it or whether it doesn't have the skin on it. Anyway, I almost feel like I'm rambling at this point, but you asked me about my diet. 300 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, say 40 grams of fat, something like that, maybe 50 if I'm eating, if I eat the lean ground beef that comes from Amazon because it's 93.7. You get the idea. In the neighborhood of 2,000 calories right now, plenty of fiber. I take a multivitamin every day. I take vitamin C. I take 2 grams of vitamin C every night. I take fiber. I take three tablespoons of fiber powder every morning about 30 minutes before I eat breakfast while I'm cooking up all my food. I take 210 milligrams of magnesium glycinate at night before I go to bed. I'll take a pre-workout depending on the day, depending on how late in the afternoon I'm training. And I take a couple different peptides, including BPC 157, TB 500. Yeah, so there you go. That's what the diet looks like. That's what all the stuff looks like all together. Let's see. Donnie Von Yucky. He lost a bunch of weight, and then, well, this is still from LA Hipster 1. He says that Donnie Von Yucky lost a bunch of weight, then has been binging lately. What are my thoughts about that? Look, I've been there, man. I was there for years. I was on that roller coaster. I gained a bunch of weight, I'd lose a bunch of weight, then I'd gain it all back and more, and then I'd lose it, gain it, and eventually I woke up one day and I was 392 pounds. And that's how it was. The reason why I ended up where I ended up in terms of diet, chicken, rice, broccoli, Laura's lean ground beef, and wild caught salmon was because those are foods that cover most of my nutritional basis. And if there's anything missing, I can make it up in a multivitamin or, whatever. But that covers almost everything. I mean, I've got omega-3 fats in there. I might be a little low on the fats for hormone production, whatever. Like I said, I eat Laura's lean ground beef. I eat a pound of red meat every day. It's lean, but it's a pound of red meat every day. And I eat omega-3 containing wild caught salmon every single day of my life. So that's important to note that that's part of the reason why those foods were selected. But it's probably even more important to note that those foods are not the most delicious foods that I could be eating. They're not. I could be eating all kinds of cream of rice with delicious apple cinnamon flavors and all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what? Your boy has an issue when I start eating foods that are too delicious. I'll just keep eating it. I will keep eating it. I can keep eating until the cows come home. And Donnie Von Yucky, I don't know if you're like that or not, but you might have to find, and I hinted earlier that eggs are something that I don't throw in there a whole lot. Well, guess what? If I start throwing eggs in with my breakfast, I want to eat all the eggs. I want to eat 6 eggs every time I eat eggs. With hot sauce on it, along with my wild caught salmon and my rice. So really, I'm just better off not eating eggs. And there are foods that I just tend to stay away from. And so that's why I'm so strict with the foods that I do eat. So I guess my advice to you, Donnie Von Yucky, if you're able to binge and still lose weight, more power to you, man. But I doubt you got as fat as you were if binging wasn't a problem. All right, Mr. _ 83 asked me about GBS training systems. Let me tell you something. When I saw that, I thought, is there a training system that I'm not aware of? Remember, I talked about this in the other videos that I've done, but I wrote a whole book about training systems. So if there's a training system out there, I think I've read every book available, including every word Jim Wendler ever wrote. And I mean that. From articles to all of his books. Same thing for Mark Rippetoe, same thing for Louis Simmons. And even Russian training manuals, stuff like that translated into English. And when I saw this, I thought, I better get on Google and see what this is about. And I was automatically hooked. And then when I saw it was something about business systems or something like that, I realized it was way out of the scope of things that I know anything about. I'm sorry, Mr. _ 83, but yeah, completely out of my realm of things that I know anything about there. So good luck figuring that out. Here's the thing about Eddie Haskell, where he posted something that I thought maybe would be a good topic for this video. He says that no man will ever be loved unconditionally except perhaps by his mother. And I automatically had a bunch of thoughts about that. And I started typing. And I thought, maybe I'll just talk about it. And then LA Hipster 1 kind of came in and said a couple things that were already I was thinking about, but the way he worded it made perfect sense. So, I might overlap a little bit with what he said, but I got to be honest with you, Edward Haskell. That's not been my experience. And not in a rude way, but it does kind of smack to me as kind of self-pity and self-loathing when I hear men say this kind of stuff. And I see it on social media. I see this comes across my algorithm sometimes, men talking about how nobody cares about us and nobody cares about our feelings and all that. Here's what's true. When the Titanic goes down, we're the ones expected to stay on the ship and die while the women and the children get to go ahead and live and survive and propagate the species. That might be a biological thing that we have kind of decided together. I don't know. Or maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe it's a societal thing. So there is some truth to that. Men might choose to be a little more, might choose to put women and children first, put their needs and feelings first. But it's not been my experience that no one loves us or no one loves us unconditionally. Now, the word unconditional is where you start to get, well, of course, people don't love you unconditionally. Somebody else mentioned that. Like, who would love you unconditionally? Like, kind of depends on what you mean by what conditions are we talking about. Would my wife still love me if I went out and killed somebody for no reason? Would she still unconditionally love me if I went out and decided that my new passion was robbing banks or robbing liquor stores or something like that, hurting people for pleasure? Well, no, because then the condition of our existence, our partnership and our love for each other and our existence together and throughout this life is that I am the person that she knows me to be. So anyway, kind of depends on what you mean by unconditional. But if you mean loves me even if I screw up, trust me, I've screwed up. Love me even if I fail, trust me, I've failed. But here's where we're getting into something like even when I was young, my wife and I got married when I was 21 and she was 20. Actually, I might have just turned 22. I had just turned 22 and she was still 21. So I've always had people surrounding me, like even 2 or 3 years after I graduated from high school and moved out of the house, I'm already married, and boom, a year later, we're having kids. And I've raised 3 kids to adulthood. So I've had people around me who share some of the same DNA as me and my wife for the past 25 years. And then, of course, I had a good childhood and I had good parents and good siblings and stuff like that. So if you didn't have all that, then I understand where maybe some of that self-pity and some of that self-loathing might come from. And maybe you've just had a tougher time meeting people than me. I don't even feel that way with the people that I work with. I'll be honest with you, man. I work with mostly women, and they ask me how I'm doing and how's my wife doing, and all the time. So I don't know, man. It's not been my experience. And I'm not exactly I'm not walking around like expressing my feelings to people. I'm not that guy. I'm a little bit private and I'm a little bit shut off. Even doing these videos has been something it's a little bit out of character for me, but I guess my point is, like, I'm not going around like sharing too much with people or whatever for them to ask me about how I'm doing and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Um, I think some of it is how you're operating out in the world. If you expect people not to treat you well, maybe they won't treat you well. Good luck. Good luck. Mr. Quint, he says, I'm a teacher, right? Yes, I am a teacher. And he asked me about my summer plans. For the first month of summer, I'm teaching summer school, which most of the time that I'm teaching summer school, most of that time I've been spending in the gym. But I have some actual teaching duties that I'm doing too. Most of you guys know I'm not a regular like grade level teacher. I'm something different than that. So I've been playing dodgeball with the kids. Well, they're not allowed to play dodgeball. I've been playing dodgeball with my coworkers in off times when we have a break or lunch break or whatever. I posted a video of the dodgeball on the forum if you want to look it up. I made a Drew Darden style hype video of us playing dodgeball. You'll see me with my signature white hat slinging those dodgeballs about 147 miles an hour. Anyway, first month teaching summer school, and then after that I'll have maybe 2 or 3 weeks off. My wife will have 2 or 3 weeks off with me, so she's taking off so we can spend a little time together. Chalup says, where do I get the energy for the workouts and the cardio that I'm doing? Well, some of it is the diet. And I think the fact that I optimize, now I told you what I'm doing for cutting, for a cutting diet, for a calorie deficit. And that's awfully low in carbs. And I don't do that as a maintenance style thing. Once I get to a level of leanness that I'm happy with, and then I can maintain, I'll be eating more like 9 or 10 servings of jasmine rice for those meals that I was telling you about earlier. And that equates to about 375 carbs, the way that I do my math. Remember, I'm counting the protein from the rice and the broccoli as carbohydrates. So if you just did the math on 9 servings of jasmine rice times 36 grams of carbohydrates per serving of jasmine rice, you're looking at 9 times 3 is 9 servings times 30 is 270 plus 6 is 54. So it's in the neighborhood of 324, I think, if I'm doing my math right. 324 grams of carbohydrates from the rice itself, and then about 16 grams of carbs from the broccoli. Anyway, in the neighborhood of 300. The way I do the math, 375 grams of carbs, 350 probably actual carbs, something like that. So 300 grams of protein, 350-ish grams of carbs, 40, 50 grams of fat is my cutting my maintenance macros, 3,000 calories a day, something like that. That's good. And I eat 6 meals a day, so I have energy throughout the day. I lift weights for about an hour and a half, 6 days a week. And when I'm in a maintenance phase like that, I'm doing 30 minutes of cardio every day before breakfast. I go to sleep at the same time every night. I wake up at the same time every morning. I drink a lot of coffee. I drink a pot of coffee every day. I don't know what you're doing with your caffeine consumption. I drink a pre-workout before I work out. And I think the biggest thing for me is that I talked in previous videos about how I sat right there on those stairs leading into this gym. I was talking to my workout partner, and I told him, I'm no more pills, no more weight loss tricks, no more nothing. Just, it has to be something that I can do for me, or it's not going to work. It has to be something that I can do on my own permanently. And somewhere along the line, I read Kobe Bryant talking about, or I read Kobe Bryant's book, Mamba Mentality. And I heard him talking about how he doesn't negotiate with himself. And somewhere along the line, I just decided I'm not negotiating with myself. If it was a good idea to get up at 4 a.m. when I went to bed last night, which that was the idea, then it's still a good idea at 4 o'clock in the morning, no matter how I feel. And I'm not negotiating. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not hitting the snooze. None of that. I'm not trying to sound tough or anything like that. That's just the mentality that I adopted. And by God, I've done it. I just have done that. If it was a good idea for me to do back and biceps last night before I went to bed, then it's a good idea now. You know what I mean? Like if that was the idea yesterday, nothing changed between then and now, unless I don't know, if I've got the flu or something, and I'm knocked on my ass, maybe I'll take a day off like that, but not because I don't want to, not because I don't feel like it, because feelings, that's not it. That's not what I'm after. I'm after following the plan. And that's what I've done. So it's not even so much about energy, especially right now. I'm 14 weeks deep into this calorie deficit. You think right now I'm doing 60 minutes of cardio. I don't know if I made a mistake earlier and told you 45, but right now I'm doing 30 minutes of cardio before I eat breakfast and 30 minutes of cardio later on in the day. So I'm doing 60 minutes of cardio right now. There were stretches, because I had to, for those of you who are watching this who maybe didn't watch the previous videos, I've lost 200 pounds. So there were stretches over that time where I lost 200 pounds where I was doing 90 minutes of cardio when I was really being aggressive with the weight loss. So I've only got 3 weeks left on this cutting phase, and I'm up to my maximum right now, which was 60 minutes of cardio every day. So lifting weights, 60 to 90 minutes, 6 days a week, cardio, 60 minutes, 7 days a week. And I just decided to do it. It's a matter of making a decision, not about how much energy you have. You just have to do it. Now, if your hormone levels are off, then I will tell you this. When I was fat and unhealthy and not doing much cardio, I was still lifting weights. I always lifted weights. But when I was in bad shape, I'm going to say it was about 4 years ago or so, maybe 3 years ago, I had my testosterone levels checked and I was at like 270 or something like that. And that's kind of what you expect when at the time I might have weighed 340 pounds or something like that, maybe 350. And I can tell you that without doing any kind of hormonal intervention or anything like that, just by losing about 200 pounds and over a 2-year period, getting in shape, doing cardio every single day, eating the way that I've described, my testosterone levels just from that alone went to like 440. Now, how much would that change your energy levels and your recovery ability so that you could do your workouts like you are talking about? I don't know. I don't know. It would have to be better than whatever you're feeling now. If it didn't work, if that doesn't work, if optimizing your diet and your cardio and your lifting doesn't work, maybe you should talk to a doctor about hormonal intervention of some kind. That's the best answer I have for that, Chalut. Good luck with that. GD585 asks for perspective on being a great husband. I'll be honest with you. I'm reluctant a lot of times to accept a compliment like that. Only because when I see people who are too confident, it's a red flag for me. When I see people who are too confident, even if it's in their job or something like that, when I see that, I'm like, are you really that great, or are you just kind of puffing yourself up? But I'll accept it as a compliment, and I will say that the things that I'm good at in life, the things that I'm good at in this world, the number one, if I had to rank them, I would say that being a husband is probably number one. Being a dad's probably number two. And then being a teacher and a case manager and things like that come somewhere after that. So I'll take it as a compliment, and I'll tell you a few things that come to mind. I've never forgotten her birthday. Ever. I've never forgotten our wedding anniversary, ever. I write her handwritten cards have for 25 years, always, for her birthday, for wedding anniversaries, for Mother's Day, for any kind of Easter. I'll buy her flowers and write her some kind of a note and mean it. I'm not I'm not forcing it. That's how I feel about her. When she was sick, I took off of work and stayed with her every minute because we weren't, things weren't looking so great at first, and I took her to every single doctor's visit, every single hospital visit. I was there. I was holding her hand. I was there with her through everything, every surgery, everything. I'm a team player. I'm a partner. I have, we have a division of labor in our house. She does all the laundry. She works more than I do. I'm a teacher. I've already said that. So I spend, all day at work, come home, lift weights, spend some time with her. But she goes to work even more days than me. Like she'll work 9, 10, 11, 12. Right now she's on a 17-day stretch at work so that she can take off some time with me in July. But my point is she works just as much as me. So if I stuck her with all the household chores, she'd probably do it. If I was just a jerk and just let her do it. But we split the labor. I'm over everything kitchen related and she's over everything laundry related. She makes a lot more money than I do. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. And so we're in a fortunate position to where we're able to pay somebody to come and clean the house and clean the bathrooms and clean everything, clean the floors and keep everything nice and shiny. But in terms of everyday stuff, we split it. So I don't know. That's pretty. I'm trying to think, but I think most all men have the capacity to be a good partner or husband to their wife if they find somebody they're compatible with. And maybe I was lucky, or maybe she and I are the types of people who we're going to find somebody to be compatible with, or maybe it was destiny or some other romantic kind of idea that we were going to find each other. And we grew up together, actually. We didn't start dating until we got to college, but I don't know. I think most of you guys could probably do the same thing if you're willing to be a good partner. But if you think of it as a transactional kind of thing, like a lot of miskers seem to do, and you think of it as, well, nobody loves me unconditionally, and you kind of wallow in self-pity or whatever. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy or perfect or it's all going to work out, without any trouble or anything like that. There's going to be issues, but be a good person, find a good person to be with, and I think you're going to be okay. I don't know. Maybe that's a boring answer. Pink asked me a real question this time. Oh, no, he doesn't ask me. Actually, sorry, he doesn't ask me a real question this time. In a way, I think maybe he thought this was an okay question for me. But here's the thing, man. I'm not your typical misker, so I'm not probably going to answer questions that are racially charged the way that you want me to answer them. Remember, I told you guys before, I have a master's degree in English language learning, which is essentially teaching the English language to people who speak other languages as their first language. I taught adults in college English. Some of my students were from Mexico. I had one student I remember from Egypt. I'm not doing that job anymore, but I did it in the afternoons when I was teaching in the K through 12 public education system during the day. So I don't think that, I work with people who are from India. So you're probably not going to get the answer you want from me out of that. And that doesn't mean, by the way, that I'm, just in case that people are going to say, oh, he's a liberal. No, I'm not. Matter of fact, I lean more conservative on a lot of things. This is probably not one where we're going to probably agree on things as much, but because I know a lot of Miskers think, I've seen the sentiment that they think that diversity is not a strength. Well, I grew up in the 80s. In the 80s, we thought that it was. We were taught that. And that was how our whole generation was raised. We were taught America is a melting pot, and that you take ideas from this group and this group, put them together, and you've got now multiple perspectives. And I still think that kind of thing can work. So, and I get along with people from all different cultural backgrounds. I've taught people from all different cultural backgrounds. I have friends from all different cultural backgrounds. Yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna fall into the trap that you tried to set there for me. So, not that you were trying to set a trap exactly. Typical Misker question. Anyway, I think that's it for the questions, man. This one went a little longer, 41 minutes. Hopefully I didn't say anything to get myself in too much trouble, and hopefully I didn't divulge too much information either. But yeah, I'll do this. I'll keep doing these. I'll do one again next weekend too. So next week is my last week of summer school. So after that, who knows? I might do a couple of these a week. So